Today's reflection from St. Peter's is taken from our Lent book, The Living Cross.
It's Tuesday, the 30th of March. The Found Son. Luke chapter 15, verses 11 to 13, 20 to 24, 28, and 30 to 32. Jesus continued, "There was a man who had 2 sons. The younger one said to his father, 'Father, give me my share of the estate.' So he divided his property between them. Not long after that, the younger son got together all he had, set off for a distant country, and there squandered his wealth in wild living. But while he was still a long way off, his father saw him and was filled with compassion for him. He ran to his son, threw his arms around him, and kissed him. The son said to him, 'Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son.' But the father said to his servants, 'Quick! Bring the best robe and put it on him. Put a ring on his finger and sandals on his feet. Bring the fattened calf and kill it. Let's have a feast and celebrate. For this son of mine was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found.' So they began to celebrate. The elder brother became angry and refused to join in. So his father went out and pleaded with him. 'My son,' the father said, 'you are always with me, and everything I have is yours. But we had to celebrate and be glad, because this brother of yours was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found.'"
The parable of the lost son, or prodigal son, can be so familiar that we lose the sense of scandalous grace that it represents. Sometimes, however, the impact returns in an instant, as happened when I was leading a spiritual exercise with a group of women. I read the parable out, but I substituted a lost daughter and a corresponding older sister. One of the women listening became emotional as the story struck home. The Spirit was at work in her life and in the life of her family. Jesus tells the parable as the culmination of 3 stories about lost things being found. The lost sheep and the lost coin come before the lost son. This is his longest parable, so long that I couldn't include the full text. Do read the whole story if you're able in Luke 15 verses 11 to 32, filled with details that would have resonated with his listeners. That a father would gather his robes, exposing his ankles and feet to run towards his son, was unthinkable in that day, especially as the father was a prominent man in the community. But he had counted his son as dead and welcomed him home with joy. His son's prepared speech of confession is tossed to one side. The father doesn't even let him finish, but acknowledges him as a son, one to be celebrated and rejoiced over. Even though the son basically wished the father dead when he demanded his portion of the inheritance, the father stretches out his hands and his heart. But the older brother isn't pleased. He has been working out in the fields during the joyful reunion and returns to a party that he doesn't appear to be invited to. Expressing his disgust, he demands to know why his father would lavish the gift of a fattened calf on his brother when he hasn't even been able to enjoy a goat with his friends. His father's response is memorable for its grace and love. "All I have is yours. Come, don't be angry, but rejoice, for your brother, whom we thought was dead, is alive." We don't see how the old brother responds in the story, but we know how the Pharisees reacted to Jesus. They prosecuted him and nailed him to a tree. Not everyone wants to receive God's scandalous grace. But for those who have ears to hear and a heart ready to receive, they, yes, we, can accept the gift of forgiveness and new life. Even if we have squandered our inheritance, throwing it away on loose living and reckless spending, the Lord will welcome us back into his arms. If we harbour resentment against those who we think don't deserve to be part of the Christian family, the Lord wants to clear away the bitterness and disgust so that we can all be joyful members of his family. During this Holy Week, as we consider Jesus' scandalous actions of grace and love poured out, place yourself into this parable through your imagination. Who are you? The younger child? The older sibling? The parent longing for a loved one's return? A prayer. Father of grace, of outstretched arms, my heart overflows with gratitude as I see you running towards me. I'm humbled and amazed that you would welcome me back home even after I left you. I don't deserve your grace and forgiveness. Help me to live as one forgiven, who desires to further your kingdom on earth as your Spirit dwells within. Help me to remain grateful and not to become resentful when I hear of all the other members of the family whom you welcome back so lovingly. I know that you have no shortage of love. Thank you, loving Father. Amen.